Greetings.
Greetings to you. Welcome.
Okay. Khalifa Bay here, calling from Los Angeles.
Who was that?
Khalifa Bay. Khalifa Bay.
Greetings to you, sister.
How are you, my brother?
I'm all right. We try to catch up as much as we can. I see and have been privy to the conversation, and I think I see things moving along. So I'm very happy, and we might even speak to that a little bit today.
Oh, that'll be excellent. That'll be just excellent. I'm so excited.
Yes.
I'm truly excited. So, what beautiful part of the continent are you on today, or are you stateside?
No, I'm in the U.S. unfortunately. And so I am in Boston.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I would have liked to have been in Atlanta. The Malcolm X Festival over there is something that everybody should get an opportunity to visit. It is absolutely unbelievable. I stepped out one year. I went to the festival, and I stepped out as the first speaker on the stage. And now I had already been training, doing echo trainings and doing solar trainings and like this. And so people knew my voice, but hadn't met me. And so I stepped to the microphone and, I greeted my people and I said my name, and the crowd came forward at me almost to the point, how you get back on your heels and put your hands up like something about to happen. I mean, they surged, and it was amazing. I came down in the audience. Is my brother here? Baba Ajamu. I came down in the audience and got to greet and meet so many people. And then Dead Presidents came on after that. Look, I was done. I was done. That was the jump off, I tell you what.
That's exciting, but brother, you moved us. What I am glad about is the act. I was listening to Infudisi. Brother Infudisi, who teaches the Metanet.
Yes.
And the program you have set up is in accordance with what the ancestors have laid out for us. And I'm just so excited, and everybody's excited about you.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, and it is not modesty that makes me say this, but more than anything, it has been laid in front of us. This is the ancestors' work. This isn't me, right? This is so much more than an individual. It's so much more. It's something that has to be. And I think it's also appropriate that, can I get everybody to mute their microphone? Who's that? There you go. All right. I think it is also somewhat appropriate that today would be the birth of Malcolm X, right?
Yes.
My mother was a Panther and my father was a Mau Mau. And so when I came up, I didn't have no choice. You was going, you was going to listen to it, right? I thought everybody knew where the secret rooms was. I thought this was a part of life. And so being as close as I was to the nation at that time and as close to his philosophy, man, I know that exactly where he would be is where we are. Build our own. Yeah. Build our own from the ground up. I don't care what they got built out there today. We need our own from the ground up.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's less me and it's more us. There's nothing new under the sun. I'm a firm believer we got more answers than we have questions, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People, we had one of my partners is the We Can Foundation. And what we did was we just had a live Facebook, speaking on Brother Malcolm and where he would be today. And it's exactly what you said. We're in line with those of us who know the mission. Everybody doesn't know their mission and their purpose and where they're supposed to be. So those of us who know are doing what we're supposed to do.
That's right.
And you know, all of us are vessels. All of us are vessels.
That's right.
And once we continue to walk in that, we'll be just fine.
That's it. And you know, I'll add to that. I will add to that and say that as vessels, look, don't never one of y'all look to me to be perfect, because I never will be. I never will be. I got issues just like everybody else. But what we all have in common is a need to get to a given place. So if I can be as transparent as possible, right? And we can recognize, okay, that's that dude's stuff right there, right? And let that stuff go and move forward. We're going to be able to do tremendous things. And
I believe. I'm in it. I know. I'm going to say I believe. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been an integral part, and have, so we'll, as we move forward, we'll get into it.
Absolutely.
I am, so I'm going to go ahead and wait and let some more people get in. I know that there was a lot of people that wanted to get involved. We're 3 minutes in. I think what I'll do is I will, I put up a little screen capture that can run while we wait for people to get in. I'm going to just go ahead and do that. All right. Wait a minute. That's a question. Jose, my brother, how are you, family?
That's a difficult question, but my question right now is I try to record the conversation. I assume you are recording it?
I am recording.
All right, that's all for now.
Yes, sir. All right, so I'm gonna run this, let some other people get in, and then we'll move forward. All right?
That's great.
We bring you greetings and wisdom from Africa. So, music says, family is the basis of humanity. Children are greatest resource. People think education is only academics, but the knowledge of God is the greatest and the most necessary of all knowledge. Straighten your hair, you look like a wife. Bleaching your skin, you look like a wife. That's mental today. How long will you promote intellectual castration
causing generation after generation to suffer with brainwashing and my black brothers and sisters are still living in limbo under spiritual, mental, and economic slavery, fighting to fit in white people's society, all because they've been conditioned to be afraid to return back home to Africa. Straighten your head, look like a white, picture your skin, to look like a white. You've been conditioned.
First half of the route, and just keep dropping the line.
Adam, you want to go grab that other one? What are you doing? I see you. You want to go grab that other one for me? They got it unhooked.
All right. All right. Let's see.
Right up out of feet, Just drag it out.
Who's that? Can I get somebody to mute?
Appreciate it. You got a fast one and everything, bro. You won't take it no time.
Who's that?
And this thing is slow as shit. So.
Oh, that's Isaiah. That's Isaiah. I'm going to mute you, man.
I found out expanded like
All right. So I am recording, right? So with the number of people that we have present, okay, it makes some sense to go ahead and get started. I scheduled this for 2 hours. But if we should go further, that doesn't really bother me. So it's not a hard, fast 2 hours. This is why I did it on a Saturday. I also want to provide opportunity to have some updates directly from the various countries. I have been trying to coordinate so that I could get some of the executive directors in where they're not available. I'll give you the updates as I know them, right? And so again, I want to greet everybody and offer health and wellness on everybody's house. Thank you for taking the time. I know everybody is interested in kind of where we are, where we're going, right? And what challenges, if any, exist. And so really that's what this is about. It's about trying to offer as much transparency as possible. And even speak to the plans going forward as it relates to transparency and access, right? So first and foremost, I want to give thanks and praise to the ancestors without whom nothing that we do here could have ever been possible. We stand literally on the shoulders of giants. Today is the birth of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. And I think it is worth noting that we gather today. We have 19 people on the call on 5/19/2018. I suggest that it is worth noting on his birthday that we kind of come together and speak, okay? So I think everybody knows my big mouth. And so I am Peter Brown, and I am the CEO of the Ledge Group. Let me just test and validate that the recording is happening. I'm gonna resume. Yeah, the recording is on. Thank you, my love. I'm the CEO of the Ledge Group. I think everybody should know, all the names that I see in the room, y'all are all close to this, but you know how the Ledge Group started. It started with me saying, hey, let's pool $20 and give it to a single mother at the end of this week. And so many people responded, it made sense not to pool that $20, but to try to think about building an industry, right? And that began years ago. And from there's many people that are here that have been involved and seen the different efforts to kind of get to this place. But today, the place that we are in is kind of where we predicted we would be then. It was a little bit of idealism, It was a little bit of craziness, right? And it was a whole lot of hard work. But today we're in a pretty amazing place. It has not been without challenge to get here. But in short order, we should be really seeing amazing differences that we're making on the planet. Okay. So first and foremost, I'll kind of go through a list of the projects that we are currently working on and give updates where I can. Now, is there anyone from the Ghanaian team on the call? Sister Cassandra, Titus, Tyree, Nana Kwame? None of the Ghanaian team is on? So, okay, so in Ghana, what we have is the brothers Titus and Tyree are now in the central region, and that I really wouldn't expect them to be on because service is not existence. They get service when they go into the town. So they have been there for a few weeks at this point, and immersing into the culture there. There's been challenges for them, right? And some of those challenges surround the language. They've been in Africa now for a year, I guess. But some of the challenges that they experience are surrounding language. And so Nana Kwame was with them for a period of time and then went up to the Volta region to try to scout some other lands and some other opportunities, right? So they've been segmented a little bit, right? And what I have spoken with Nana Kwame about is the availability for 300 hectares of land up in the Volta region, highly irrigated, really nice, fertile area where a lot of commerce is happening. So what's happened in Ghana is our resources are a little bit spread, right? We're in Central, we're in Accra, we're in Volta. Well, what we have in the Volta region is a rather large house where Tyree and Titus, as well as Kwame and all other workers, can be housed. And we've got 300 hectares of land. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to kind of have conversation with the teams there and sorry guys. And these are kind of things that I haven't even said to them yet, as it relates to what we're going to do. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to rally those resources and we're going to move them to that land. We've got that 300 hectares guaranteed. It's ours to work with. Let's work with it. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. They attempted to plant the bamboo. The bamboo that they have is black asper. Phenomenal plant. It grows natively black, like ebony wood. Absolutely gorgeous. Again, tensile strength, similar to steel. They tried to germinate it. Now, bamboo is not an easy thing to do, right? I don't know how many of you have ever tried to do it, but bamboo is not easy, right? And there is no shortcut as it relates to the growth of bamboo. None, right? You have to germinate that seed first until it sprouts. Once it sprouts, then you have to very carefully place that down into a small amount of soil. Then you pot up once it takes to that soil. Once it eats that soil up and the root ball has eaten it, then you pot up. And you have to do this 3 or 4 times before you ever put a single bamboo seed into the earth. So it's not an easy thing to do. Once you do it, that bamboo will grow for 100 years right there, right? Its shoots will produce more. It'll grow for 100 years right where it stands. They had a hard time with it. That's fine. I expected that. And that's why they have so many seeds so that they can test it out. So my recommendations and what we're looking to do in Ghana is I'm looking to get the resources corralled and moved over to that 300 hectares and begin to do some work there. Now they've got some food growing where they are, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say some yams. I'm sorry, I can't speak specifically to what it is they've got growing. I did get report. I'm just not, it's not in front of me right now. But so Ghana is moving. We are beating the bushes for the best opportunities. Since Cassandra spoke about, and many of you, if you are on her friends list, there's an island that is uninhabited that they're looking at trying to build a resort. So I'm very interested in that and trying to see kind of where we fit in that regard. All right. So that's kind of as it relates to Ghana. I'm excited about the Volta region. I'm excited about the opportunity to have a house large enough to accommodate teams there. So again, opportunity kind of presents itself as we move forward. Okay. I'm going to, at this point as well, however, I'm going to turn this over to my brother Magomu, and he is in Uganda. He's the executive director of Ledge Uganda. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to him to speak about kind of where he is, some of the work that he's been doing on behalf of the Ledge, some of the excitement out there, and the projects that we have in the pipeline that we're kind of going to move forward on. Magomo, are you there, brother?
I'm on.
Yes, sir. And so,
Grand rising, everyone.
Grand rises to you, brother. And anytime that you're ready or willing, I'm going to start my video. You can share yours, and you can go ahead and share anything that you have. You there, brother? It's a little slow.
But
You there? All right.
yeah, can I share the videos?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Just a minute.
Y'all have to know how amazing this is. The fact that we actually have visibility into the countries that we are represented in. And so it was my hope to try to get you into 3 different countries today, but we'll see what we can do. You bringing that up? Brother Daniel, you there? So while I'm going to wait. When you're ready, break in. All right. Stop me from speaking. Okay. Take control. And if you hear me say something wrong, you can just go ahead and own that. All right. So do I hear you? All right. So Brother Magomo is the executive director in Uganda. There are a number of projects. Let me share a screen real quick. There are a number of projects that have been sitting in the pipeline in Uganda that are valuable and lucrative. We've spoken about agriculture and kind of its value. Again, food, clothing, and shelter. The one thing that I don't care what you have, I don't care what your resource is, if you don't have food, it is worthless. Yeah. Are we there?
I was going to first talk about how everything is here in Uganda,
There we go.
the projects and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you ready? I'll start this share and you can go forward.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Basically, in Uganda, the first thing that we looked at is coffee. I'm going to first present about coffee. We have three projects that are in the pipeline. That's coffee. We have soya. We have onions. But then the most exciting one is coffee. So we're looking into how the ledge can get into the coffee industry, and as well as uplifting people, helping them, and as well as getting business done. So when I reached there, there are two core values that I wanted to look at. First is establishing strongholds in a region called in Uganda we have districts. The ones probably that you guys probably you have as states. We have districts, and Mbale district with other districts. That's Mbale, which is being surrounded by mountain, and within Mbale, Nebi, and then Sironko, those are areas that where there is coffee. It is like in this area, the known crop is coffee. It's the crop that has served the region for a number of years, over 50 years. And each and every household has a garden, and in that garden there is coffee. And it is through this coffee that has uplifted each and every family, educated children, and done a lot to Mbale. And in fact, Mbale was going to be the capital city of Uganda, but it was later shifted in the central where it's better. However, with Mbale, the unique thing about Mbale is, the coffee belt passes through Mbale. That's why coffee, Arabica coffee, specifically Arabica coffee, is grown there. So I reached like on Friday. I met on Saturday a number of farmers. I met 15 farmers on Saturday to know how much we can get into different families, and as well as get into the coffee business as well, and how we can uplift them. So when I went, when we shared, oh, is anyone hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
you can
Yes.
share.
We're listening.
Okay. Then I met them and we shared a number of views on how we can do business.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Mic check. You broke up a little bit right there at the end. Is everybody able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
So it has human.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, they say that if at all you get into the industry, people produce 30,000 tons of coffee. That's per harvest season, and the seasons begin from September up to January.
Till January.
Late January. So I was like, how can Ledge get into business with you, and as well as helping you, because that's our core values, lifting them up, making sure that their standards of living increase, making sure that they are not compromised of the energies and the sacrifice that they give to grow the coffee. So they were like as well, we're buying all the ideas, and they were like one thing that is happening, if at all our manure can be increased, through organic farming, because basically here is organic farming is the one which is being done in Uganda, because of the so many animals that each household has. And the beauty about it is that it's so hilly that most of the gardens are normally put on above the garden, so that when it rains, the water just flows with the nutrients, and then shares without throughout the gardens. So that's why the coffee gets so much, rather the productivity increases so much. So I went into basics. So I was like, can we bring in tractors to help you? They were like, no, this place is so hilly, a tractor can't climb, and there's so many bumpy and slopes and something like that. They were like, the best thing that we can do is providing manure, helping them in manure, and then helping them with farm inputs, which are basically, like, let me say, hose, like better hose, okay, manual farming tools. It would be great. And then I asked them whether there are other companies which have come in the form of ledge. They were like, true, they are there. And the person that I interviewed, because most of these ones were speaking uh, my, the local language, because my grandfathers are from this region. So the person whom I interviewed was speaking English, and is the one that I interviewed, and I'll share the video soon. So they were like, their companies actually is working for like four companies, which are doing the same thing, but the difference is uh, that the ledge can contribute is that these people, for instance, let me say I'm a farmer, and I have, let me say, half an acre of my produce, and my children need to go to school, but I don't have the money. So, because some of the farmers are being registered to such companies, okay, how is registration done? Registration is done whereby you say that, you know what, I'm going to belong to, let me say, the ledge, and the ledge has allowances which they give to farmers, and they say that in case you get a problem, you come here, and then we give you some money, the money that you want, and then we shall account it when you are selling the produce to us. However, these companies have never increased their prices at all, even when coffee prices go on increasing and increasing. So they are left in that bracket, let me say, in that basket, whereby they can't leave it, because in case they are stuck somewhere during the planting season, and then the coffee growing, they have an alternative of going uh, to get some money somewhere without, let me say, security. Because here, in case you have to get a loan, you have to maybe give in security, let me say, a land title, a car, something like that. So these people don't give in their land, but they promise the harvest that they'll be deducted. So meaning that the ledge can come in and say that, okay, we are making this profit, yeah, and then afterwards, like, we are going to increase the prices of the farmers, and when we increase the prices of the farmers, still we are getting the profit, but increasing it better than the other companies who have never increased
Right.
the prices of coffee for like 20 years.
And
So,
so, my
uh,
brothers, my
yeah.
people on the call, what you hear is the model that we've seen played over and over and over again on us in America. What you're hearing is slavery. What you're hearing is slavery. They move in, they make a deal with you to buy your stuff, right? And then they make it more expensive for you to be able to do business with them. They get you to the point where you owe them money, and now you're working for free. That the old phrase was working for the company store, right? I owe my soul to the company store. That's what they're doing. And this is what they're doing throughout the nation. I'm sorry, throughout the continent. When you look back at the video that we shot in Kenya, you hear the exact same thing. What happened in Kenya was the farmers do not have their own washing station. They do not manage their own packaging. They do not manage the logistics. And they also don't manage the licensing and certificates that are needed to be able to move it. And so as a result of that, they have to ship that out to the cartels who handle all the rest of that. And when it comes back, the Kenyan farmer doesn't make a dollar. And so they leave their coffee on the vine. We saw this in Kenya and we spoke about it. We see this in Uganda. And so at this point, and I'm proud to introduce, I think I see Brother Philip as the head of the coffee committee. And I'm very proud to speak to, or at least let Brother Magomu and Philip speak to the progress that they've made. Furthermore, in addition to the progress that they've made, the capacity that is available to the Ledge by way of Sister Khalifa Bey and Global Logistics. So what we've done is we've taken and put a number of resources together in the name of doing a single thing, right? And what is that single thing? Let's call it what it is. It's pushing Starbucks off into the water. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's pushing Starbucks off into the water, presenting an option so that there are challenges, right? The coffee game is not an easy game. Anybody that takes any time to kind of dig into it, this is a rough game. I mean, they are doing the math down to the cup in the coffee game. And the fact is, because all of the various channels are generally owned. You may have a roaster, but you don't have the packager. There are components in the game that are always done by someone else, right? And as a result of that, there's a margin that they're able to keep the average coffee shop at. They can say pretty much exactly what each coffee shop is going to make. And so it's a controlled industry. And what we are doing and what we have done is we build all those channels ourselves. So, and I'm going to go ahead and let Magomu speak to kind of what the forward plan is relative to coffee. I don't want you to give away anything that you can't. And again, I don't want to put you on the spot either, but please feel free to share with kind of where you're going.
Okay. So we looked at the different things that the Ledge can do. And let me talk about the different cartels, like the way Peter was saying. Now, how this is done by the big men, and the big men are the ones who deal with the Europeans, because they deal with the Russians, they deal with the states, guys. States, I mean America. They deal with England, with France, and everywhere. Because when I went there, I met a colleague who actually wanted 100 tons of coffee, and you know where it was going? It was going to Russia. And basically, when they take it to Russia, they brand it as Russia, and you may think that it's Russia making coffee, and yet it's not. So and continuously, countries like Uganda, maybe, and other African countries, you know, we don't get into the media that you people get to know that, you know what, in Uganda there is something which is good, which is happening. There is something we can invest in. Their way, so they continue to lift themselves. So like the Ledge, well, like they are what we call wash stations, like the way Peter said. But with wash stations of coffee, we are looking at the pulping machines. The pulping machines are the ones which remove the red cherries, the ripe coverings or the ripe cotyledons, and when you remove them, they become wet parchments of coffee. And these and, and these ones are being fermented, and why they are being fermented, fermentation brings a unique aroma which is added to the coffee than just putting it into the machine, and they just remove even the parchment and everything is done. So basically here, the best thing is that you first ferment it like for 12 hours, or let me say 15, but the maximum is 48 hours. And then you remove it, they wash it, the people wash it. So after washing it, then they dry it. You can sun dry it, or you can, companies, maybe big wash stations use dryers, and when they dry them, and they become dry parchments. Dry parchments, I'll share a picture of what dry parchments are. Dry parchments are then stored for further, for exportation. They have a shelf life of like 1 year and months. So when you have huge, let me say like 10,000 tons of parchments of coffee, you can just store it so that each and every month you are exporting. You are just exporting and exporting and exporting. That's the beauty about it. So after, and then these dry parchments, they are put in a machine called a huller. The huller just removes the brown parchment, and then they become green. They become green. They become green coffee beans. I'm going to just put on uh, my video, and then I show you uh, how green coffee beans are, because I brought samples here which I'll be exporting to the ledge committee, and then they'll be distributing them to the different contacts of coffee companies and roasters and cafes that will be our potential targets in this business. So I'm going to, before that, Arabica coffee has four varieties which are being exported. The fifth, they are small, so they're not exported. We have double A, we have single A, we have PB, we have B, single B. So basically, that's how the hierarchy goes. So I'm going to put on the video. I've just put them on. Uh, I've just put them on my chairs. So when you look at this one, these are grain coffee beans. So this one, as you see it's written on Bugisu grade, Bugisu Arabica double A. You see, that's double A. This is single A. So all this is done, is graded. They are all graded into different varieties. So they are all that. So afterwards, these green ones are the ones which are being roasted in roasters, and then you get such coffee beans. You see, they actually increase in size when you roast them. That's why this is 2 pounds, which is 1 kilogram. So this is the ground. So they will be off to you guys. So yeah. So basically, that's how we can get into the coffee business, and then as well as help our brothers and sisters who are being squeezed into the corner whereby they have no.
Oh, did you lose audio? His audio gets a little spotty. Again, you got to remember that the kind of service that is available. It was kind of difficult to get. I did my best to try to get him.
They have such color. Oh,
There you go.
oh yeah. Okay. Uh, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the way some of us
Oh, you went out again. Okay, so he went out again. It's a little, as I said, the bandwidth um, is a little low.
gosh, hear you, Peter.
Okay, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So how farmers can be registered and we can be indirectly running the coffee business in, let me say, in villages, so many villages. Um, they come under us, and then we are like, we say that we shall be helping you in such ways, and then you'll be selling coffee to us. So they just come on board. We shall just show them how we shall be running. And first and foremost, someone told me that uh, one of the field workers who has been on ground for 10 years has told me we can do two things. We can hire warehouses, and when we do hire warehouses, we have to make sure that during the period of September to January, we can stock as much as we can, so that we don't go to other companies in case, let me say, a specific company wants coffee, because they'll be selling it at a very high rate. Because basically, we are right now looking, depending on the different donations each and every one of you gives, and which is not really enough. So we have to see how we can get more money through this. So when we go into the business, we'll be helping the farmers, increasing their standards of living, making sure that they get fair rate, and that's so crucial. And also helping them where they need help, getting that relationship whereby we are so close to them. We understand why certain thing is happening. We borrow ideas, let me say, from Brazil, because here a coffee tree um, can produce 12 to 15 kilograms of coffee or of red cherries. But then when you look at Brazil, they produce uh, like one tree produces like 20. So we have to find a reason as why that really happens. And then when we do increase this, we shall be indirectly increasing our production too, and as well as also increasing their livelihood too, or on the coffee. So as the coffee committee where I'm a member, um, we've already looked at the numbers of how we can construct the coffee, rather the warehouses, and then hiring, and then we are looking at how the machines, we can get them at a fair rate, whereby we are targeting this coming season, so that we stock as much as possible, help farmers too, and as well as help them to intercrop, because coffee does better when you intercrop it with legumes. Legumes, those are beans, that's soya. So I could speak now about soya too.
So I want to
Uh,
just jump in really quickly and kind of tie
yeah,
it back to America,
yeah,
because I think
yeah, sure.
from the ledge forward trajectory, there's been very little conversation as it relates to how does that translate to forward progress for us here, right? And the way that translates to forward progress, and I guess coffee is pretty self-explanatory, but we've been introduced and in contact and working with a brother that has been in the coffee industry for 25 years. He was very closely involved in Starbucks, began roasting his own coffee in his backyard, and then opened his own coffee roaster chain. He's got his coffees in various stores, and he's very anxious to kind of bring forward this vision that we have as it relates to building the supply chain from the ground up and the relationship. At the end of the day, it's not just a cup of coffee, but it's a full story. You get to see the farmer. You get to have direct interaction with the farmer that is in fact raising that coffee, right? We have the ability to have very premium coffees, premium blends, and the capacity to take them from the best places throughout the continent and make them available. So how does that translate into forward progress for us here in America? What that does is it gives you, I think I see Brother Thurman on the call. So what we need to do, right, is we need to break through this bubble where they have complete control over all of the elements, all on the chain. Yeah. So what we need to do is, in a very clear stated goal, is produce a high quality coffee and be able to deliver it at a cost that cannot be beaten. And we need to have that available to us as a people. And if we do those two things, everything else falls into place, right? At that point, when I approach the coffee shop, I already know the numbers that you're doing. I already know what it is that you're paying. I already know what your profit margins are. I don't have to ask you. What I'm presenting to you, I'm going to put the numbers down. You're going to look at them and they sell themselves. I'm going to give you a cup of this coffee and it's going to sell itself. And so I want to put, and we want to put in the hands of every single one of us, those things that have always been, but have never been a resource for us to be able to use, right? And that's what everything that we're doing is about. So you see an awful lot of focus, right, on Africa and on African countries. That is because in those countries, they have resources that we do not have access to. We now have global logistics, and from the ground up, we're going to build trade that directly goes to the African here in America and benefits that African there, okay? So, and again, I didn't want to segue too much. Brother Magomo, I want to give you some time to speak about some soy and the onions projects that are also in the pipeline, but be cognizant of the fact that there's a bunch of more updates that I've got to get through. So if you can, just be as brief as possible.
So anyway, I was going to just give a very interesting price of Arabica coffee. And as we all know that Arabica coffee is the best coffee. You can't compare it with Robusta coffee. And it's also expensive too. It's more expensive than Robusta because it's easily attacked by diseases and it's quite expensive to grow. But let me just give you just numbers. I showed you green coffee beans, and that one that I showed you, each is 1 kilogram, which is 2 pounds. And here, when you're buying it, you buy it at let me see, at $3 and 143 cents. You can hear that, Peter?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I hope it's hearing that. And 2 pounds of roasted, you get them at 6 pounds and 957 cents. But all this is at that high price because you are just buying it from the retailer. But when we get into on ground and we add value and we just begin from the red cherries directly from the farmers and then we process them, we shall have it will be like the green coffee beans will be like buying them. When you look at numbers, they will go as low as $2.
Mm-hmm.
And those are £2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can hear that. It's so interesting. So,
And the vision, the forward vision is that what we do is we are shopping these coffees to the 48 African coffee shops in America. And the goal, the vision is that we have exclusive access to that coffee. And the tons that they are able to produce, instead of going to auction in January, we take those exclusively. And those are distributed here in America, right? Now, again, if you think about the logic that's being shared, the logic says that what we're speaking about is building a washing station so currently in Uganda, what they're doing is the farmers are sending that coffee off to outsiders to do the washing and do the packaging. And so they necessarily lose money right in that process, right? And so what we're proposing is that there is a washing station put in place, giving people jobs right in place, giving them a stake and a share in what they previously had been spending money to do, right? And so we put that in place. And again, we have that direct. Now, again, if you think about kind of the process that Magoma was sharing with you, we're not talking about roasting them, because the moment you roast them, the shelf life of that coffee is diminished. There's a clock that's ticking, right? So we're not going to roast them. We're going to clean them. We're going to wash them. We're going to dehull them. We're going to package them. We're going to ship them into the United States of America. Here, we're going to roast them, and we're going to package, distribute, and move the product, right? And again, so what we do is we create employment on both sides, and we generate revenue and a buzz with these African coffees that are just taken over the United States.
Great. Peter?
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether Phil is still online.
Oh, my guess is Phil's still here.
Phil?
Yes, excuse me. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Could you just share a little bit of more in case I've missed anything, according to how we've been having our different meetings, and probably I would have missed something, so you can enlighten your brethren here.
See, he put you on the spot. I didn't, so you just, you know.
Thank you, Magomo, for involving me in the conversation. Well, just to bring everyone up to speed, first, Magomo has done an excellent job of summarizing what we've been doing, and he's been doing an excellent job of handling pretty much everything on the supply side, everything coming out of Uganda. He's pretty much got a handle on, right down to going and visiting with the actual farmers and acquiring samples that we just need to transport here. Just to give an overview of what we look, Peter pretty much touched on it. We have the effort that's going to take place in Uganda, where we would explore the wash stations and actually working and partnering with the farmers to acquire the cherries and then process those to green beans for packaging. Ship those green beans here, and then handle the roasting on a national or regional level, working initially partnering with roasters that have already, perfected their craft. They have their own roasting style. They have their own product that they have in stores already, their own marketing, and they have their own shops. So we would work with a similar model, to develop, like you said, employment on both sides. We are currently putting together budgets for what it would cost to, we'll get the quotes for transport. That's in the process now. We're putting together what it's going to cost to actually roast the coffee, package the coffee, and deliver that coffee to various retailers. We're trying to put together our pricing structure so that when we do have saleable product, when we have our roasted coffee or even our ground coffee, we can sell it to the retailers at a more attractive price than what they're currently selling. So what we do is we increase the money that's available for the farmers on the supply side, and we increase the money available for the retailers here on the retail side. And because we eliminate so many other entities that typically take a share when they process the coffee, whenever they touch it, they have to make money. That takes away from profit by eliminating many of those additional steps. There's more left for profit in the middle, more left for the ledge to take away some profit. So that's pretty much where we are. There are still a couple of conversations that need to be had in terms of partnering on the roasting side, and then we would, reach out to retail outlets once we actually have, all of our numbers in order, and are sure that there's something on the table left for us.
And then further, not to be understated, my definite intent is to also have coffee in the hands of all of our members as well as distributors. And having the ability, so when we have those coffee shops that have got those premium blends that are in their local retail areas, now let's get those same blends to where you are and no one else has access to it, right? So again, it's all about each of us being able to eat. If look, no one's eating first, man. We gonna sit at the table and eat together. That's how this works, right? Everybody's hungry, we're gonna eat together. Right?
Absolutely, and to that end, we've started looking into things like mission statements and and a vision for what this coffee movement actually is, and actually some core values that we want to touch on. So when we have a legend that is a distributor of this coffee in their particular region, they can actually go and sit down from a standpoint where they've been educated about coffee. They understand the coffee industry. They know the roasts, the regions. They know the flavor profiles. They know the taste. So when you have this coffee product that you want to go and sell, in your region as part of your business as a legend, you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with the necessary marketing and sales information that we put together from the beginning. So we're kind of looking at it from that aspect that, once we do say we have coffee to sell, we have a website that you can reference, we have the necessary support in place. So if you have questions, we can get you those answers, and we are educating ourselves. So we're not just people who decided we were going to sell some coffee. We're actually going to learn this business. We're actually going to understand the coffee business so that we can, the more the more you can profit, essentially. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. It's real business. It's not just something we're trying to do. This is actual real business, all Black-owned supply chain from the farm to the cup. So that's how we're approaching it. And hopefully that's how we're going to benefit from it.
Excellent. So I'm going to just quickly, Brother McGowan will run through just a basic kind of conversation about the onions. You correct me or modify
Thank you.
anything that you need to. But we are looking at growing some onions in Uganda. This speaks to kind of the area where the land is located. Okay. It speaks to the amount of land that we're going to plant, right? And so that's 3 hectares. And what I like to do is I like to have, and what we've done is we've developed a standard method of operating. When we partner with any country or any individual in the country that is a landowner, we initially file legal paperwork that there's a partnership. Okay, that's the first thing that we do. Then the next thing that we do, once we've got legal paperwork and we've got public record as it relates to who we are and what we intend to do, we then deploy what I like to call a POC, or a proof of concept. Proof of concept is a small project. It's not an expensive project, but what it does is it validates our assumptions. Yeah. It says, okay, we plant this small amount. We see this come back. Okay, that works. We can plan generally into the future based on that.
Well-
So what you're looking at is an assessment of the work to plant onions on 3 hectares of land. Okay. The budget breakdown for the entire project. The entire project is a $3,000 expenditure, and it speaks to kind of the costs associated with bringing that to fruition. When you're looking at the timetable associated with an onions, you're looking at 90 to 120 days out, right? And so you're looking at kind of the profit margin and breakdown. Okay. And so this is, again, one of those that have been in process and prepared to go. Okay, so this is one that's ready to go.
Peter?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm back on.
You're back on?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of lost out and my connection went low.
We saw that. Philip came and spoke relative to the committee and the forward plans in the coffee. Did you want to add anything to relative to onions or soy?
I wanted to speak to soy.
Yep.
Yeah. We looked at soy being grown on 10 acres of land, and when we looked at how we could do such a project, we realized that would be expending, would be spending something a little bit more. So we looked at the first season, we would put in something like 10,000, 10,800, $10,086,000. But when we looked at such expenditure, we saw that it's really quite a lot of expenditure. And then we're like, why can't we, intercrop it with coffee? So, and when you look at each acre of land, you can plant 400 trees of coffee, and you can as well grow soya on the same piece of land. So when you look at when this coffee grows, each acre can give you 4 tons. 4 tons of coffee, which when you process it, it can go down to 3.5 tons because of the sherries and everything. You are removing everything. So we look at 10 acres of land, we'll be having something more than 30 tons of coffee.
And what we're talking now is ledge project, right? So earlier, and they're interlinked, obviously, but what we were discussing was partnering with the existing farmers, right? Building out that infrastructure so that we could get the product most easily and as best as we possibly can here in the United States. In this context, we're speaking about ledge lands, right? Where we're going to own those coffee trees, we're going to farm that, and we're going to grow soy. So when he speaks about intercropping, what we're speaking about is growing multiple crops in the same space. And the reason that soy is a component of the conversation is because, very interesting, when we look at a geopolitical standpoint, the United States versus China and the imposition of the various tariffs have created a lack of source for China to get soy. In fact, China just bought millions of tons of soy from Russia. That's an unscalable model, and China is soon to need a lot of resource. In fact, they need a lot of resource now. So the soy is very valuable in relation to, so I look at it from a number of different standpoints. On the one hand, it is something that we can sell to them on a regular basis. We can count on them being customers, and as much as we can produce, they will be able to take. That's one. On the second hand, if we get them to the place where they need the soy that we're producing, well, guess what? That means that I can make China pump their brakes throughout the rest of the continent. Because if we are feeding them, then we have some level of control that we can exert over the way that they interact on our continent, right? And so that's the bigger picture, right? But the smaller picture is the farmer and it's producing the soy, right? And it's producing it in an intelligent manner. Okay. Did you want to add anything else to that, Brother Mugomu?
I was just looking at the profit margins for because first and foremost will be basically because the coffee trees will have to grow for 3 years and a half, and in all these 3 years and a half, won't have any investment we have to put in the coffee except giving it manure, which is roughly like, let me say, $2,000 per year. And when we are intercropping this with soya, it will be weeding on its behalf. Actually, soya will be how can I call it? It will be supporting it will be financing the coffee. And after 3 years and a half, we'll be harvesting coffee for 25 years. That's when you can cut down the coffee tree and then you can replant again. So that's what I wanted to just share.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. Brother Chalemu, are you on the call? I don't know if Brother Chalemu was able to make it. I think I see a question, Sister Eternal Reign.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Greetings, legends. Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone.
Greetings.
I just have a quick question. I don't want to sound like I'm the negative one, but in regards to the soy, it's pretty much a two-part question. In regards to planting soy,
Yes, thank you.
Along with the coffee, is that also to preserve the soil? How do you say the soil content? Like, sometimes you have to rotate out crops in order for the soil not to be eroded and to preserve the nutrients and minerals in the soil. Is that one of the reasons we're doing the soy and the coffee together? And have we taken that into consideration in regards to planting?
So I can speak very quickly. The fact is that they have, and you might have heard him mention earlier, they have an awful lot of livestock there. So their manure is very rich. So they've got what they need really to amend that soil. Furthermore, I want to, and I'm about to really, you're going to hear me, and everyone's going to start to hate hearing me say it all the time, but I want to push a serious campaign of composting. They're using these vegetables every night. They're being eaten every night. If we create community bins where everybody is putting their, their celery bottoms, all of the organic matter into a dark place with a little bit of lime and water, we come back with black gold, and we can turn the worst soil into the best soil. So, and I know the second part of your question, which is soy. Soy is bad for the human. Soy is not good for the human physiology, right? We know this, right? With this in mind, the only reason that soy is being considered as a sister crop
because of its profitability
is because of the Chinese want it. I ain't feeding that to near one of mine. That ain't going on our table. You hear me? That's because they want it. Hey, look, you want that? We got that, Because we're gonna, If you think about what Brother Magoma was saying, growing the coffee is not going to produce a crop for 3 years. That is eating 10 acres of land and tying that up for 3 years to wait for profitability, right? So instead of doing that and tying it up, grow the sister crop and sell that directly to them.
Right. The second part of my question, I'm sorry, Peter and members, have we considered irrigation, weather? Have we factored in water, how we plan on watering the crops? Because I remember there was just a little hiccup with the crops in Kenya regards to the rainy season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can allow Magomo to speak to that directly. I can speak to kind of the climate in Zambia, and I'll speak to Zambia and the Zambia project in a moment. So, Magomo, if you would.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to first add on to the soil. Soil is a legume, and a legume nutrifies the soil. Besides, being it profitable, it can really do well. It will actually just add. It will just nutrify the soil for the coffee. Besides it being profitable for the project, and then for the irrigation, like here in Uganda, it has been raining since the first week of February. We've been having constant rains until now, and they're still raining. But probably in August, I think it will be a little bit dry. So we factored in irrigation too into our budget. So in case it's raining, we won't spend on that. When it's not raining, that's when we'll spend on that. But still, the price is already accounted for. I don't know whether I've answered it.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Oh, Brother Magomo?
Yes.
I just have a really strange question. Is it illegal to collect water in like containers there, like drums, water tanks, so on and so forth, to make provisions for like August? I'm just trying to figure out what is the method in place for in case of.
That's the Europeans that make collecting water illegal.
Okay. I remember the same question being asked to me on my timeline by a friend of mine who is an American like you. So here it's not illegal. Even yesterday, I just put my small tank outside and I collected water and I bathed the water and I used it to wash utensils. So here basically water is free. You can collect rainwater. You can put it into a tank. You can build, let me say, underground tank, and you just direct all the water which falls on the roof to be directed to the underground tank, so that you just be using that water for long. And other people with enough land, they have created let me say big ditches whereby when the water when it rains, the water comes in, and they have started fishing right there, and fish when it grows they sell. Some people do that here, so there is no illegality onto that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The water is life there.
Okay, so we pretty much have something in place already or about to put in place for this project as regards to the dry season and making provisions, being proactive instead of reactive. So is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for answering the question.
Indeed. And those are the lessons learned, right? And I like to speak back to kind of and only because it's contemporary history. The pilgrims that came here, these folks starved. for many, many years. They starved. In fact, if you look back, you'll find that in Jamestown, they cannibalized each other. They starved. The earth will fight you, right? Simply because you want to grow food doesn't mean the earth is going to give you food. That's not farming. And so there are challenges. And so as you encounter the challenges, you modify your standard, right? You modify the way in which you go forward. And so we've grown from the experiences that we had in Kenya. I wanted, and I don't know, is Kiama online? Kiama was also trying to get here. The fact is, as I said, when you get out into these farm areas, it's rural. You're talking Africa. And so oftentimes signal isn't available. But I wanted to see if I could get Kiama to come in and speak to kind of what's going on there. But I will speak to, I think I've got to share still on screen. I will speak to what we've got going in Zambia, some of the things that we've got going in Zambia. Currently, we've got watermelons growing. And if you could see Executive Director Chalemu, he's he is giddy about these watermelons, man. He's like, and they've employed some very interesting techniques relative to growing the watermelons. They've ditched the grow area so that the watermelons are actually sitting in holes throughout the fields. It's a very interesting concept that he spoke to. And I'm very happy to see that it is working very well, and the watermelon patch looks great. The other thing that is really going for us in Zambia, and again, I'm looking at lands. So there's a couple of things, and I'll break this up in a second. But the other thing that's very interesting is in Zambia, the water is 10 meters below your feet. So I saw the well that they dug, and the well is marked by a tire, right? And the tire, below the tire is a hole that is the circumference of the tire going down 10 meters, okay? And in that hole is the pump, which is pushing the water from that well up and into the fields. And pretty much everywhere that you go in Zambia, you will find that that water is about 10 meters below your feet. So this is really great capacity. This is really great place where you would, so if you were looking to build a home, if you were looking to repatriate, that would be a really great function or feature in that land. Towards that end, I did want to speak to, and again, it's one of those things that is here, that we have, and I'm trying to figure out a way to most effectively use. But we've got 20 acres of land in Zambia with a house on it that is a three to four bedroom house in Zambia that currently is sitting empty, that we want to have some workers go over, occupy, and kind of turn that land into fertile working product. I think RT, I think I see RT on the call, and I know you've been, I know we kind of, dance back and forth as related to this conversation, but we need to be able to effectively use that, okay? It is readily available to us. It is fertile land, okay? We've got assistance on the ground, so parties wouldn't be completely isolated and by themselves. There's few challenges. There needs to be a water tank installed. Pipes are all there in place. Plumbing is all in place. A tank needs to be installed, and one other thing. A day's worth of work, and it's in shape. So the issue is this, right? This is the issue. This is something that came up before. It was conversation that we had before. It was a great idea relative to the ledge being able to get people to go into different places. We have to remember that this is a business, and we have to think of it from the perspective of a business. If one should go over to Zambia right? We don't have a salary, right? Everything that we're doing and everything that we have done has been through crowdsourcing, right? So we don't have a salary to cover that person when they get there. We don't have insurance to be able to cover them. What happens if something happens, right? So there's an awful lot of factors to be considered. It's also not enough to have our compliance officer draw up a contract that says, okay, if you lose a leg, you just lost a leg, right? That's not that's not what we're looking to do, right? Strand somebody out in a land where they are not familiar. So while the opportunity exists, it's one that has to really be planned and thought through in order to effectively use it. And that's really what I'm trying to do with our executive director, Talemu. Where he is currently about a 5-hour ride from that land. Okay. So working the land that we currently have, working with the watermelons, and trying to do that is unscalable. You can't do that, right? So we need a resource. I need to be able to dedicate a resource. And as I said, I'm actively working on trying to figure out a solution to most effectively use that ability.
So, Peter, quick question.
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt again. With this house and the work that you need done at the house, have you possibly considered like rotating people, like have people go over for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, seeing that we do work and go to school and we'll have our lives here, but we want to like at least, volunteer and dedicate some portion of time to put work in to help this project. Like we give 2 weeks because there's a project that I'm familiar with in Puerto Rico. I know most people know what's going on in Puerto Rico, where they're sourcing people out at for 2-week intervals to help to rebuild Puerto Rico. So I'm wondering if that would be something that would be considered, and if it would be, would the individual be responsible for the cost, the transportation cost to get there? And so on and so forth. Yeah. Because I would be interested in going and possibly donating 2-3 weeks over the summer because, I go to school, but, I'm going to have like time in between, but I don't want to be the only one there because even though I can put the work in, many hands make work light.
That's right. That's right. Now, that's a very interesting, and I think my friend Carol Tingling made mention of the fact that she's been involved with this group that has done exactly that in Cuba for the last 50 years. And they cycle in and out and they build up Cuba. Yes. And so that's a brilliant motto. There's challenges, right? One of them being the most profitable component to that venture is going to be the agriculture. So somebody has to be there consistently, right? To be able to manage and tend to and take care of those fields, as well as to have the knowledge to be able to do it, right? And so that's why it's kind of difficult for me to find a way to use it. I find that in my mind, it's actually easier to use local talent to most effectively use that land. Simply because of, and so you asked another component to that question. Would the person be responsible for their own transportation? Yeah, they would have to, right? They would have to pay their way there. Now, that being said, it is a house that is available, so a person wouldn't be paying accommodations, right? Now, again, there's challenges because also you'll have to farm to eat or bring bring capital to be able to eat. So again, there's a lot to it. So what we're doing is, I think we're right where we need to be in Zambia currently. I would. It feels to me like lost opportunity.
Zambia, bro.
What's that? What'd you say? So it seems a little bit like lost opportunity to me as time goes on, and we've got a house and 20 acres that is not doing anything. But at the same time, stretching yourself too thin doesn't make a lot of sense. And so I think we're in the right place. We currently have watermelons growing. Those are working. Those are going to go to harvest. That's going to generate revenue. That's going to allow us to have additional reach and capacity there. Okay. In Zambia as well. So give me a second. This is more about updates of what we're doing, right? Let me kind of go through what it is that we're doing and update members and others, and then we can potentially have a conversation. Okay. And so in Zambia as well, you heard conversation as it relates to copper mines. And those copper mines are under our control. We've got samples out to different parties, and we are in conversation with people that want to process internally, which is really right along with where I'd kind of like to be, where we're processing it. So right now in Zambia, okay, you find that the Chinese are paying cash money right now, every day. They're paying cash money for Zambians to come in with raw ore, okay? $500 for a ton of raw ore. They're taking that out. They're bringing it into China. They're processing it, and they're making $14.5 per ton on that raw ore. And so they're getting them, right? They're getting them on that copper. So, and the problem is, and you've heard me speak about this bubble that's installed over Africa, and we see it with the coffee, we see it with everything, right? There's this bubble that's installed, okay? And so with that in mind, processing it in Africa, right? Turning it into what we call cathodes is an intelligent model. Further, with the free trade agreement that's in place, I believe, and others believe on the continent, that we don't necessarily have to ship it off at all, and it can become profitable, as well as building the infrastructure. When you talk copper, you're talking infrastructure. That's it, period, right? When you speak copper, you're talking infrastructure. And so we're looking at that and trying to, it's a lot. When you talk about, is that my sister from Ghana? That's my sister, Cassandra.
Hi,
there. How you doing, sister?
I'm all right.
All right.
I'm good. Stuck in traffic here. Thank you. I'm so glad I made the meeting. Thank you.
I am glad you made it as well. Did you have an opportunity? So I'm going to switch gears, everyone, since I got the sister here. She's coming from Ghana. When you have it, you use it, right? So did you have opportunity to speak with Brother Kwame?
Not yet. I'm just coming from the Volta region, checking on that island project I was telling you about.
Yes.
So we're just coming from there, and it's almost night. But I did talk to Twin.
Yep.
Tyree.
Yep.
And I'm going to speak with them as soon as I get home. It'll take me a couple of hours to get home, but I got a driver, so I was able to catch your meeting. But what's up? Is there something I need to know right now?
Well, so really, I found it really good and interesting news that Brother Kwame is up near the Volta region himself and has secured, I believe the land is already his, 300 hectares of land and a large house, a large house on that land that, and yeah. So, you know how I think is we're going to put together and make a loaf of bread. So we get the Magnificent Seven from the central region, get them up to the Volta region, and let's go to work on that 300 hectares is my thinking. That further puts us closer.
Okay, because I talked to Kwame like the day before yesterday that right.
Okay. And so, yeah, again, it's closer to that island as well. And again, kind of aligns us where we probably need to be in Ghana. And again, pulls those resources. I know that Titus and Tyree were, you know, they had challenges related to the language. So again, kind of pulling those resources back together again and focusing them.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was my concern, that they were kind of out there by themselves, and after they were moving in the opposite direction, they were all going in different directions. Then this did pose a problem for everybody because I have no way of monitoring it. I don't know. I sent you the only report that I received, and I was just waiting for this to work out because I know it is going to work out. Ghana is going to be like the headquarters for some very, very profitable and exciting projects. We have an entire island, just like Gilligan's Island, and it is fabulous. So everybody, it is fabulous. You should. I mean, so we met with the chiefs. We met with the 15-member council today, and they are all excited, and they have accepted our offer to, you know, develop that land, and everyone is so excited. We're just going crazy. So that's going to be something for us to do.
Yes, yes, that is amazing. I always wanted to visit Gilligan's Island. You kidding?
I know. Well, we've got one, and it is huge. It is beautiful, and oh, Peter, it's an experience. It was crazy wild. But the around the edges is encrusted with salt, and it just glitters in the sun. But the inside of it has a fresh water source underneath, and it's lush and beautiful, and it's crazy. So we're going to go and do a survey. We send an airplane over, try to get the layout, go in and see if I'm sure there's snakes there, but I'm sure there's no lions and tigers and bears. But there are a lot of birds.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were speaking relative to kind of like a resort there?
Yeah, we're going to do a resort, a recreation center, just whatever. We've just got all kinds of ideas about what to put there. A community center where people can have, you know, weddings and events, and gaming, like tennis courts and things like that. And of course, the lagoon is great for boat races and sailing, and it's just a gold mine. It's just heaven. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we got to get these. I don't know. I'm going to talk to the twins. I'm going up to see them and Mr. Walter in the morning. So I'll have a little more detail about what's going on with them. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with the children.
Yeah. Yeah, they got that energy, you know.
Oh, Lord, yes.
And I'm real pleased to hear from Kwame. He is working hard. He is growing some moringa out where he is.
Okay, did it take? I haven't even heard an update on that. Is it taking?
Yeah, it is. It's rocking. So he's got some moringa going up there in the Volta region. So again, real positive, connecting the dots and kind of moving forward. So hopefully we pull it together a little closer in Ghana, and we get to where we need to get to.
We will.
All right. Thank you.
We will. This is like learning to ride a bicycle. We don't even know.
That's the connection. What
we're doing all in place.
What'd you say, sister?
I say thank you for the opportunity. Everything is going to work out just fine. I'm at the toll booth. I wish I could do a video and show you everything. Let's see. Let's see if we can do a video so you can see. Wait.
You should
Okay. I don't know if you can see me.
All right, let's see.
I don't. Meeting in progress. I don't know. I was trying to show you all of the people, the vendors, and the hawkers at the top. Best place on earth. Y'all need to come. Y'all have got to come.
I know. They're jumping. It don't turn off. I know.
Never.
It does not turn off.
Ever.
They say New York is the city that never sleeps. Yeah, I have no idea.
Who else is at the meeting?
No idea. Africa doesn't. All right.
Baby. Ghana. No, Ghana will put New York to sleep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, so I'm going to push forward with the updates. And
yeah, good talking to you.
Thank you, sister. And that is Executive Director Cassandra in Ghana. Coming from the Volta, go headed back to Accra. Okay. So I was hoping that, again, as I said, I was hoping to have Chile on to be able to share video as it relates to what he's doing and where he's at. He's real happy about the watermelons, and we are as well. I also wanted to have Brother Kiyama come in if possible, again, bearing in mind that they're in the farms. So, into the hard talk, right? Okay. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, our contact there, the election was won. We had sporadic contact. Our check and balance contact laid eyes on Tapiwa, on our contact. And so we now have, we have physical access. Well, again, he comes in and he says, hey, the election's over. My time is now going to be free. I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you updates. And he says this and he goes away. And he comes back a week later and he says it again and he goes away. At this point, my COO and our contact on the ground said, pull the plug. So we pulled the plug. I'm not interested at this point in the forward relationship with that specific contact, okay? What we are going to do is we're going to retrieve the investment funds that were sent. I think it was a 43. I'll get with the treasurer. We'll get to it. But we're pursuing those funds that were initially sent to that party. And I will keep you updated as it relates to how that goes. Again, it is not a place that I wanted to get to. I don't know whether or not you all remember, but this brother lost his father and his son in the period of a few months. And that was a very difficult hit for sure. At the end of the day, right, what happens is, so I'm the head of this project, yeah? And so everybody looks to me for the updates. Everyone is holding me accountable for where we go and what we do. With that in mind, that money was sent to an individual to do a given job. I didn't hold them to anything that they said that I dreamt that they said they could do. I held them and I held their feet to the fire to what they said they could do. That hasn't been delivered. And so at this point, again, I pulled the plug on that project and we now pursue funds that were remitted and have legal recourse. It's not where I wanted to be. It's not, obviously, right? We have amazing relationships throughout the continent. This speaks to the individual, and I mean, currently, as we speak now, I'm in conversation with other parties and contacts in Zimbabwe that are saying, look, you know what I'm saying? Don't let that be indicative. Please continue to reach out. Please continue to try to do business here in Zimbabwe. And that's what we're going to do, right? I'm not throwing away Zimbabwe for a poor experience, but we will pursue with all fervor recompense. We will get those funds back. Okay. So that is Zimbabwe. Kenya, we are at about $3,400 relative to the well. And with that in mind, I am in conversation to actually take a loan to dig that well. And that conversation is very fruitful. It's been a really great conversation. My expectation is that it'll most likely come through, and we will simply dig that well and have that done. The proceeds, what comes from that well being dug, is without measure. Generally, when you look at wells being dug and based on the geological survey that we have, we know that well is going to last for generations. We'll have that well. So the benefit, the value of it cannot be overstated. I further intend to have a cornerstone plaque. So those who have contributed, I intend to find a way of getting that listed and having people's name on a thing that will be there for generations, connected to a body of work that we've done here. Okay. I see a question. Brother Eric.
Hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update as far as Zimbabwe, but if I'm not mistaken, weren't we almost like 40, 45 days away from actual harvest in Zimbabwe?
I think somebody else has got their car beeping. I don't know who that was, but I think what you said was, weren't we almost to a place of harvest?
About 40 days away.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My guess is so, and so I want to share with you that this is not a place that I arrived to easily. In fact, of the team that is kind of overseeing Zimbabwe, I'm the last one that came to the place that said, okay, you know what? Throw the hands in the air, just return back the money. Because my feeling has always been what we're looking to do is cultivate a relationship that would be ongoing, right? I want them to have a business that their children will have, but at the same time, I want to have passive income generated for the members of the ledge, right? This is how this works. So it was not my wish to terminate the relationship in the manner that it looks like it has to. You understand? I'm the last one. So my COO, man, look, Nkosi 2 months ago was like, call the dogs, right? Let loose the dogs on this cat. And I'm like, my brother, this isn't what we're in business to do, right? This isn't what we're here to do. But further, I will say that our partners in Zimbabwe were even more adamant. They're embarrassed when I'm speaking to them and we're talking about kind of the way that this has gone. What I hear from them is embarrassment. They're like, yo, this isn't how Zimbabweans get down. This is not how we do business, right? This is not how any of us are. This is this dude and yo. So that's what I'm hearing from our team on the ground. So they got to the place where they was like, yo, see him later, just return back them funds a lot earlier than me. I got to this place maybe two or 3 days ago, you know? I've been looking for, because this has been scheduled for the last week. So I've been reaching out saying, look, I need an update, right? Give me some information. Is somebody drawing on my screen, or was that me? Give me some information relative to the progress. And there's been no words. So again, I don't have a choice. I have to cut the balance. So again, it wasn't a place that I wanted to be. Okay. On another note, okay, and that's maybe a perfect segue. Okay, no, I'm sorry, go ahead. So on another note, as it relates to kind of forward progress, one of the things that I am working on and have been tasked with, it's one of the things that I see in the future and very important, is our web presence. Our website right now is not according to what I'd like. Okay. And I think I spoke briefly as it relates to the kind of functionality that I do want to see. I want there to be very basic information at the front. It's not for the public. It's more for you as the members. Okay. So what I intend to have happen is log in at the website or the mobile, which will give you visibility into each one of these projects, so you can see what's going on. In fact, I'd love for there to be GoPros on the land, so you can not only log in, see verbally what's going on with the project, but you can log into the camera and actually see what's going on the land. I want you to be able to look at the project. I want you to be able to interact in a limited capacity with the farmer and the executive directors there. I want you to be able to allocate funds through the website, okay? And from that effort, there's been one brother that's been consistently beating me up to get or move us into cryptocurrency, and I made mention of that some time ago, and that is brother Watson Jones. Okay. And so the last time he said it to me, I said, okay, you're going to keep harassing me. Now it's your job. You understand? So, and so Brother Jones has been tasked with kind of fleshing out the best solution for us to go forward. And toward that end, I had him reach out to a dear brother and a brother that, again, the work that they're doing is phenomenal. I support my brothers over at the KA Nation. And they're doing some things with cryptocurrency. And what I asked Watson to do is to put some funds into that, to see how that works, to skin it, to report back to me and see, how we can integrate the two systems. And so I did speak with him briefly, and I think yesterday. And Watson, are you on the call?
Yes, I am here.
How you doing, brother?
Wonderful.
Awesome. And again, the things that I see, and from your perspective, as we spoke yesterday, it looks really great. But again, what we need to do is take time, right? I don't want to. I don't ever jump the gun. I don't push. I don't want to push it further than it's supposed to go. Just like I said, I don't want to hold your feet to the fire to anything that you said that you didn't say you could do. You understand? So we want to see it, right? And so again, we're still in kind of that testing phase, the Q&A, the pushing back and forth to try to see how that integrates with us. But at the end of the day, and y'all might have seen me say this as of late, I am 100% committed to finding a way of integrating. You heard me earlier speak about the coffee. And again, the fact that most commonly when you hear me speak about Africa, because they've got resources that we don't, right? When's the last time you stood in an emerald mine, right? When's the last time you stood where there's truckloads of diamonds? They've got resources that we don't. And they're locked away from being able to use their resources because of capital. Well, here in America, we've got a little bit of capital and we may be able to do some things, right? So you commonly hear me speak about Africa, but please, and I have to be very clear. We're here. I was born here. My mother's native here, right? And what brought all of this into being is the need to have resource and a solution for us here, right? So while you hear me speak about Africa a lot, it's really about us. It's really about where we need to go into the future. So yes, we're focused on Africa, but we're dragging everything back. And so with Brother Mfalme and the Ka Nation, the Ka currency, with Brother Ramzu and the land in Detroit and the land in Chicago, I've got people looking on that. We're looking at that. And we're going to look to try to find the very best segue. We've got those brothers that are in Black Wall Street that just recently bought a building. We're trying to find a segue. And maybe we can put a roaster in one of those buildings. But what we're going to do, and what I'm committed to doing, is making sure that we do everything we possibly can to connect each and every one of those movements. This thing ain't about me, right? This is about us. This is about what your children need. This is about our generations into the future. That's what it's about. So it's not about me. It's not about leaders. It's not about egos. It's not about any of that. It's about building the most comprehensive solution that addresses our needs today for ourselves, right? So you can best believe, okay? You can best believe we will find a way to connect, okay? Did you see that? That old Boston thing, he just threw it out at me like that. All right. Any questions? I want to open it up. Anybody have any questions about anything that we've spoken about so far?
Yeah, really quick. The car currency, can ledge members invest, and what is like the minimum in order to help to propel, your projects, Peter? I mean,
so the way that I see it, and what I want to do is, again, this is why I have Watson kind of digging into it, is to be able to set and manage that expectation. The way that the car currency works is it's going to earn you money, right? And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about the members having access to those things that are going to push them forward, each of us, right? So that each of us can be able to eat. And y'all heard me say it 5-7 years ago. If the thing that somebody is saying to you can't change something in your day right now, they're wasting your time, right? So more than it being a vehicle, as I understand it, and then again, I got to get closer. And that means I got to be more open and receptive, and I will do that. But more than a vehicle that will assist us in our projects through direct investment, it is a vehicle that will allow you as a member to make capital, right? So it's a vehicle for you to be able to turn volume, and it's our people, right? It's keeping it in the house. So that's a bonus to me. Okay. But again, I do, yep, exactly. There's in the room, it's a cooperative Black cryptocurrency that builds group wealth and individual wealth through real assets, gold, silver, copper exchange, and cryptocurrency notes. Okay.
Is there a minimum in order to participate? I mean,
I don't think I saw any minimum.
Peter?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Peter, there is a minimum car currency of $49.
Okay.
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 Will people who are not familiar with car currency have some kind of tutorial or something that will walk them through, or do we just go ahead, donate the 49, and you will take it from there, Brother Mfalme?
Well, what my intent to do is,
okay.
That is the purchase of an account, and we can do training. Yeah, and what my intention to do, and again, it's funny, but it's just because Watson was like at me so adamantly, you know what I'm saying? He was, you know, I was like, okay, then it's your job, right? So I'm looking for Watson to come back and really kind of give me that you know, that tour I need myself so that we can in fact more effectively use it. And again, as you see, Brother Mfalme, he ain't gonna leave us out there. So we will have the resources necessary to be trained. And I will further say that the those who I see involved with the Ka Nation and the Ka currency are some of those that I respect some of the most. Terrence, yeah, there's some dynamic, powerful brothers that are all very staunch supporters and advocates of getting involved. So we're going to flush it out. We're going to skin it, see what's in it, and bring it back to, as best as possible. And we're going to link these. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. What else did I need to update? Kenya, we spoke about the house in Zambia. Now, I thought I saw you say something, Brother Mfalme, as it related to the house in Zambia and pairing up. Can you speak? You can unmute yourself, I think. Where are you? Let me see.
Am I unmuted?
There you are, brother.
All right. Peace, light, and enlightenment to everybody. Yeah, if you guys are still in Zambia, that was where one of our original mining contacts was, or wherever you guys are in Africa, really. The process of Ka currency is not just digital, where we're trying to keep it 100% on Facebook, the internet. Our process is actually bringing two things to anywhere we do business, which is a physical fresh market that brings food. And inside that fresh market, we want a branch of Ka currency, like a bank, like you would see at a Fry's or Kroger's, or if you're on the West Coast, Vons. When you walk in and you can shop to the left, you'll normally see a bank. Because the way my government is set up, I cannot say that I'm a bank, but I can say that I'm a savings commodities offer, because you can save through the platform and use it as a savings account in assets. So what I would be willing to do is, if you have a house there, I need somebody on the ground there to potentially help us start a branch in every country in Africa. So anywhere you have somebody, we can talk about actually hiring them to work for us while they're doing your project, and we could figure out whatever the schedule would be, like 2 days on for me, 3 days on for you, or whatever, and we can potentially fund that person while they're there and figure out whatever the arrangements are, so that they can help us open up branches, or if we have anybody because we really don't have any trusted sources over there that we personally know, that we can say, hey, go look at this mine, or somebody coming to the office to talk to you, or help people set up accounts, because we want to liberate everybody globally. So the only way for me to set up accounts for people in Africa normally is to have a branch there, just in case they need something today. If they need it digitally, we can get it to them in 72 hours, but somebody might need cash today. You need a branch there where somebody can physically hand somebody an advancement in their account, or just like a bank account, go in and take out a withdrawal or take out whatever. So that's what we're looking to establish. And I'm not trying to, like I said, it's not about who's first or who's bigger. It's only about doing it right the first time and making sure it's done the right way. So anywhere you go, I want to be, because we already have a team there if you're there. So it only makes sense to be able to employ your team where they need employment, or where they need a financial leverage to do whatever they have to do for the ledge group, and then working those same assets together, because we're just the reserve, or the federal, whatever, for black people. So if we have to finance a project or finance somebody to live there, that's what I would want to talk about and work towards, making sure that we can do anything, even if it's $150 to $200 a week, which is a long ways in certain African countries, or, full-time salary for full-time work. And then we can make sure that that person is taken care of, no matter where they are, in the middle of a field in Kenya, or helping us build a branch in Ghana and Accra. So that's what I wanted to say, and that's it. If anybody has any questions, forward those to Mr. Watson, just like Pete said, I'm gonna use him as my intermediary too.
Yeah.
Forward all questions to that. Let's see if he can actually answer them. But seriously, if you guys do have any questions, just write them down and prepare them the best way you can. Visiting our website pretty much answers normally 90% of people's questions. And we will work on arrangement with Uncle Pete, as I call him, for the Ledge Group to figure out the most inexpensive way for you guys to get accounts and start building assets. And we are international, so if you sign up in Africa and I'm in, Boston, I can send money directly to you via the phone because we actually have our own prepaid debit card service where they just have to get them receive the card. So that may take 3 or 4 or 5 days. And then once they receive the card, they will be able to receive funds instantaneously once they request it. So that may take 5, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, but there's no red tape. There's nobody that can view it. There's no anything. They just have to have access to an ATM, which is pretty much in every African country. They just have to figure it out from there.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you something. I hate to say it because my executive directors aren't online to say, nah, I ain't got 2 days a week. But yeah, we could do that. That's. Well,
I mean, it's a group thing. So if you need an office location, there's no reason why I can't say Concurrency Ledge Group on the door or on the banner. So it's just where they're going to be sitting. Somebody has to attend the desk. That's it. You know, and do whatever you do throughout the day. Most of the day, you're going to be on Facebook anyway. So, if nobody comes, it's just having somebody to open an actual door and say, we are in business, and it be real. Because just like me and Pete are always talk about, it doesn't matter what we're doing if nobody can physically see it and say, that's real. The Ledge Group is real because you guys saw him go to Jamaica. You guys saw him building with the Maroons. You guys saw him get the land. And it's the same thing with Concurrency. You guys physically saw us get contracts and talk to prime ministers of countries and then go and acquire mines. So the next thing is walking down the street one day in any neighborhood and saying, I know that there's a Concurrency branch in Boston. And right now I'm going into Atlanta to go set up a Concurrency branch and talk today all the way from Alabama. We have one already in Memphis. And that's what we want to say is we have one in Kenya or Ghana. But the sad thing is we need people on the ground. You got to have boots on the ground. If somebody's not willing to go, then it's just a dream. No matter how much you plan it out, somebody's got to be there.
Yep, that's right. And we got the boots. We've got legal entities in all of these countries, and we're growing. So yeah, absolutely. There's that segue, brother. We're there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Peter?
I know Jose wanted to speak so long ago. His hand went up. It got tired. He brought it back down again.
No, that 2 times I put a thumbs up for the speaker at that moment. The second time was you saying that it's us integrating. The last two times it was a thumbs up. But if it's my turn, I would really I need to speak to you.
Yes, sir.
And to the group actually. I visit West Africa for a couple of years. I even have a son over there in southern Senegal. The Casamance. It's called the Casamance. I have built a relationship with a village, and I can actually say that no money has done that. It was absolutely, it was pure loyalty. So I was invited over there by a Dutch guy, of all people, because it's very hard to find Africans in here to go along with me. But of all people, eventually a Dutch guy invited me over there, and we did some things together. But of course, his colonial core showed its face, so we split up. And that's about 6 years ago. And now I have I'm connected to 2 villages. One is called Jululu, and the other one is called Kataba. Kataba, that's where I build up my loyalty with. So I would like to invite the Ledge Group in. It wouldn't cost nothing. All the things mentioned today, traveling and even stay there would traveling, of course, is for for each one his own cost. I'm ready. Of course, I'm ready to travel and actually serve the Ledge group, because I worked myself in a whole lot of trouble with people that I worked together with. Peter knows a little bit. Last time I went there, I went there with two investors. I pulled in, I attracted two investors because the village demanded it. And it became a shitstorm. And that means that the village Jululu is out of reach, but the village Kataba Bajikunda is still, well, the loyalty is still a full 100%. So what is the contract? Well, a verbal contract. What is the verbal contract that I have with this village? There's a lot of youngsters unemployed. They are ready. The village is ready to put in the work. If there are investors to pay for the cement and have to pay for the material, the village is ready to build a compound or a resort, which would stay under their administration. On this side of the contract, on the diaspora side of the contract, we would look for tourists, for example, members of the Ledge group who would like to visit Senegal, or even time sharing, people that would like to live there, build a house, and practice time sharing. So that's this side, the diaspora side of the contract. And what I'm offering the Ledge group is actually what would have been my position, and that's the firewall. So in between the tourists and the local village would be an organization, and I'm offering, or it's either offering the Ledge group, or either I'm asking the Ledge group for help to pull this through, because the investors that I pulled in until now have only caused me trouble over there. And I actually lost the people. I actually lost the contractors. I actually lost the people that I took with me in 2016. They did a smear campaign over here in the Netherlands, and they actually bruised my connections, or a part of my connections in Senegal also, with charms, because both of them are ladies. And it's this old competition. I guess I'm an old school heterosexual black man with a poisonous attitude or whatever. But since 2016, these two ladies are in competition with me, or worse, they are trying to destroy my image over here and over there, proving a point in competition. I don't understand. I pulled them in as the investors, and both of them are, I've never witnessed idiocracy of this level. But yeah, in other words, I'm asking the Ledge group for help. Peter introduced a term to me, and that's shitstorm. And I'm very well aware of this term now, and I know 100% what it means by now. I'm like one of the ladies was actually my wife, and I figured very soon that there was something wrong, and I'm the type of guy that keeps the dignity. So I hit all the world star hip hop scenes that and eventually the smear campaign was the worst hip hop, the worst scene, that the worst shitstorm. Actually, what I was hitting worked against me. So I kept silence about all the obstacle that my partner was being, and eventually the smear campaign was actually, those type of things was actually what I was hiding from the Black Caucus here in the Netherlands. But everybody believes it when a woman says that she is being maltreated. It's yeah.
So,
I mean,
but today,
I've been the protector, but I'm known now for being the bad guy. And I actually don't know what to do anymore with the black community over here in the Netherlands. I'm tired, and actually it's hard to keep your sanity among these people.
But to the project, right? To the project.
Yes.
What you're speaking about is an investor to come in and facilitate the building of a resort there. Is that right?
That's the main contract, or the main spoken contract that I have with the village. I must say it's Jola people, so they keep their word. It's sort of an honor to them. I won their confidence because I kept the word of this Dutch guy that I was with. He promised to sponsor a soccer tournament, and in the end, it was me sponsoring the tournament.
Sure.
That's how I won their loyalty. So it's a tribe with the word of man very high.
Mm-hmm. And can you spell the name of the place?
I can type it in, because it's Kataba Baji Kunda, and that means village of family Baji. Wait a minute, I'll type it in.
Okay.
Let me see. Kataba Baji.
So on the short term, right? On the short term, we have to remember. Okay. Kataba Baji.
Peter, just to interject really quick, what are we doing to vet these people who we are going to be doing financial interactions with? Yes. How are we vetting these people to avoid situations such as the one you encountered within Cozy, and any future hiccups that would slow down our progress? Because this is, like you said, this is crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So it hurts everybody.
That's right.
Yes.
So what we've done is we have, and I was hoping to introduce to the larger group, and I've done it informally, and people have been familiar, but I was hoping to kind of formally introduce Rahima Yehembre as the African Affairs Director, okay? And so what Rahima's role is, Rahima has contact everywhere. If you think you got somewhere hidden, someone somewhere hidden in Africa that nobody can get to, you're wrong. Through Rahima, we have access to everyone and everything. And so what we're doing is, and I kind of spoke to it earlier, our standard practice is to initially open a company in whatever country it is that we are. So every country that you hear us speak to, you can find public records as it relates to that company. And in those public records, you will find my name as well as our executive director's name. And so what that does is it gives us legal local standing. You understand? Because what that means is, it means that it's no longer simply this American investor who is an outsider that's trying to reclaim something that they say they sent in there. It's not that way. What it is a local company with legal rights that is now trying to reclaim something that they've spent. So what we've done is we've put in a framework and a standard operating procedure to ensure that we have legal recourse everywhere that we are.
Yes, what I would like to add is, in my case, in the Casamance, I would like to stand. I would not like to for the Ledge Group to spend money before before things are firmly put or firmly set. I am a supposed burnout ICTer, so I still receive 70% of my income. So that's fairly okay. So my problem has been to find someone to do my how do you call it, my correspondence, my letters, and those kind of things. Someone to open my letters and scan it and send to me while I'm in Africa. That's how I did it in 2012 when I stayed there 9 months. So if I find someone, I can stay in the Casamance for months and get things arranged.
So I think what that does is provides us a segue. To answer you, Brother Mfame, brother is in the Netherlands. You might have seen when I went out, a brother just screamed my name out in the ring out there in the Netherlands, and that was my brother and his film crew. So yeah, Jose's in the Netherlands, and travels back and forth into Senegal. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to connect you all after this call and see whether or not we might be able to find something that we can do there. I want to speak just briefly about kind of the way that we work, right? Because again, this is all crowdsourced currently. As it stands, everything that we do is crowdsourced. So a resort, while definitely something, in fact, you heard Cassandra speaking about an island, right? And we're talking about potentially a resort or something like that. This is definitely something that we want to get into. But yes, I'm very big picture, little picture, right? And the little picture are the ingredients that are necessary to get us to the place where we can make that large of a move, right? Currently, if we pool our pennies, we're not going to get to a resort anytime fast, right? But what we can do is we can pool our pennies, launch watermelon growing operation, onion growing, soy growing, coffee growing, get all of those different things going so that a residual income is moving. And at that point, now we can make more qualitative moves like those resorts.
Okay, right. I am not even mentioning that because it don't even need to be mentioned, because agriculture, of course, is part of the plan. Because maybe you remember that I moved over there because I'm not quite happy with my country of birth, the Cape Verde Island, and what my intention is to reconnect. What's behind all my intentions is to reconnect mainland Africa, because we're so Europe minded. And in Senegal they have a program where there are 5 crops that they buy from France and the Netherlands, and that are pears, apples, potatoes, carrots, and onions, white onions. Because Europeans eat white onions, so the people want white onions. While the more qualitative onions, the purple ones, grow there naturally. But Senegal has those 5 crops, has a priority to grow those crops for themselves and the region. So the Cape Verde Islands also import oranges. And Senegal produces oranges, but in the Casamance there is so many superfood. For example, there are very special mango types, like the Gabon mango. That's a mango that can grow up to 6 or 7 kilos, and the core can be eaten. The core is the new thing for losing weight. You just mingle it with your regular food and you lose weight. So it's a treasure. It's an agricultural treasure, to be honest. the mango season also takes 2 or 3 months longer than the rest of the world, and that's probably because of the climate. It's a huge a mangrove where the mangoes grow. So there's cashew, there's all types of oils. Back then, when you asked for the 2 types of oils, my baby mama actually found them more land inwards. But
that was the baobab and the marula.
The baobab is everywhere, but the marula, my baby mom's lives near the border of Mali, and there is a big market where she found it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as mentioned, I have a little turbulence because of how do you call it? Yeah, I don't even want to mention. There's I have some issues going, but they are personal.
Mm-hmm.
I still have the loyalty of the village, and they can facilitate me or us. I have very little money. I can go there and visit my son, and not much more. But if I go there and somebody, I rent my house to somebody, and someone scans my bills, etc., and emails that to me, I can stay there for months with quite with a well budget, especially in the region.
Mm-hmm.
And another advantage of the region is the history. The past 35 years of history got all people scared away. The people are. There was a separatist movement, but it's over. It's over for years. But it's still the image of the area is. The rebels live there. The rebels live there, but it's the rebels that we need to connect to, because they have the network,
mm-hmm.
They have the will to protect the country, because most of the people over there are sagging pants and everything plastic, and they throw the plastic right in the nature. If you ask them why you do that, it's your future, it's your children's nature, and then they react, this is Africa. But the people that they call rebels, those people value the country. They value agriculture. They value their own rice, and they keep growing their own rice, and they don't buy the very cheap rice from Southeastern Asia.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people with spirit that I'm connected to.
So I got to get to some other questions. I see some questions in the room that I'm going to try to answer.
Yes, I gave an idea about the situation.
I like it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect you in the when we get off, and we're going to have a conversation with Brother Mfama and see whether or not there might be something that we can do. See what we can do with that.
Yes, it's been a bit turbulent because of domestic complications, but that's no problem, because the loyalty with the village is still there. That's actually the main thing that I wanted to share.
Yeah, excellent. So Willie Richardson asked, where are we on the Kenya land rental and acquisition and hemp initiative? Are we still pooling asset weekly money? So we have 138 Legends members, and of that 138, I would guess that there have been 15 that sent their $130 in relative to the well. The land, however, you can lease at any time. Now, let's speak to the land, because again, we are working on that well. That well is what turns that land profitable. We have been fighting and struggling against the elements, the droughts, and then after go ahead. This is how it works, right? From drought to absolute flood. Flood to the point where Nairi County, they're swimming in the streets, right? So that's where we will kind of that's where we kind of fell in Kenya, from feast to famine. And so what we're doing is, again, with the well, we're going to stabilize that. Okay, the well is gonna allow us to stabilize that. We can count on the fact that drought is on its way, and so we need that well. As I said, I am in current conversation to borrow the funds to be able to dig that well. And as I said, that's going well. I don't see any reason why it will not happen. And as soon as that happens, we dig the well. Once that well is dug, everything becomes very profitable. Hemp, we have our license to grow hemp in Kenya. We can move forward on that at any given time. Okay. What I didn't want to do was make large investments in hemp seeds and like this and not be able to actually care for it. Right. So that well is critical in Kenya. In Zambia, not so much. The water's 10 feet. We can manually go down in 10 meters. We can manually dig 10 meters of ground. You cannot manually dig 200 meters down, as is what's needed in Kenya. So the short answer to your question, where are we on the Kenya land leasing? You can lease it at any given time. You are a member, feel free. There's the land lease form in the file section. I would only suggest that you all heed my advice. As opposed to renting 10 acres for 1 year, I would lease 1 acre for 10 years. Okay. Do longevity, not, don't try to get as many acres as you can. Get them as long as you can. Get as many as you can for as long as you can.
Peter.
Okay. Yes.
Really quick, pertaining to the land in Kenya and the well digging.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people might not agree with this, but just a suggestion. Have you ever considered like the monies that are applied to leasing the land? I think it's what, $20 per acre, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay. Have you considered adding maybe $3 per acre as a contribution or an attachment to contribute, like moving forward to contribute to the well building or future well buildings, depending on where the ledge ends up in Africa? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna tell you something right now, and this is all going on the recording. You just got me in trouble because that is what Nkosi suggested months ago. Nkosi suggested that people were leasing acres, and a lot of money has been spent in leasing the acres.
Exactly.
But they're leasing the acres, and that's for them. And they didn't really spend as much in relation to kind of the common need, which was the well. And so Nkosi was saying, look, stop leasing the acres to everyone at $20 an acre. Let's start leasing it for $30 an acre or for $40 an acre. And the fact is, I could potentially say that to everyone on the call. And potentially everyone on the call would say, that's a great idea. The fact is that when the opportunity came into play, I said exactly what it was. There was no cost over. There was nobody made any money. And so because of that, I've kept it that way, right? I haven't put anything on top because I wanted to ensure that it was that opportunity, $20, right? So I haven't modified that. I haven't put anything on top of that. And again, Nkosi, he's going to listen to this recording and he's going to...
I'm with Nkosi, Peter. Brother Peter, it's the cost of doing business.
I'm with Nkosi as well.
Yeah,
because I would have still paid $30 for it.
Exactly. And if you're going to have a child, you have to make provisions on how to feed that child and care for that child. You can't just have a child and put him down and figure he's going to take care of himself. So I'm definitely with Nkosi, and I'm definitely with revising, because I'm guilty of not purchasing land because I wanted to see how things would have panned out.
Yes.
And I was very concerned. So if you modified the contract to say from moving from this point forward, we are putting this aside, on attaching this to the initial cost for leasing the land, but this additional money is making provisions to ensure that the maintenance of the land as it pertains to water during certain seasons, I would definitely support that. And I don't see why any other member would not support it, because that is in the best interest for everyone involved.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Especially for the fact that you can't find acreage for $30 an acre or even $40 an acre.
Exactly.
No, you
So
can't.
if you were to sit up and attribute that cost
Yes.
to it, to add into, what is it? We already put our 400 up. Great. But like you said, that's a one-time thing. And the acreage is a one-time thing too. But if you are in need of extra expenses, adding that additional on will be great, especially for those who have not purchased land as of yet. That revision may be necessary in order to fill in the pot to cut down on you actually
I
having
fully
to pull as
agree.
much of
I
those
think
money.
that revision is almost an immediate necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. And I know Lisa is listening on, and she too.
Hi,
Hey,
Sister Lisa.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I'm Jesus. Okay. So again.
Hi, Ms. Lisa.
Hello. Yes, I said this months ago.
Yes, both of them have.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it.
and I was the reluctant again, simply because this is what I said in the beginning. And I look, my one of the most important things to me is consistency. You give your word, you give your word. It doesn't get changed, you know. And so again, that doesn't mean that I'm opposed to modification. I think maybe with consensus being it makes sense, maybe it does make some sense to implement. My hope is that through this, through the process of my trying to attain these loans, that it'll be a moot point. That's my hope, is that I can get it to a place where it's a moot point.
Yes, Peter, but the loans have to be paid back also.
Yes, they do.
Exactly. So, I mean, moving forward, I would suggest you incorporate some minimal fee for the new people who are going to lease land, and for the people who have already leased the land who will benefit from this. You know, we adjust it for them to say, okay, pay $1 a month until you reach the cap that is required to meet the need.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd say something in defense of the decision that Peter made over a year ago, and that is when we were in Kenya, and even before that, the land was growing, everything was green. The drought hadn't really taken hold of most of the produce, some of it, but so everything seemed to be okay, and then things just went wrong with weather. So yeah,
that's
so
understood. That's understood. If we
Yes.
couldn't
Right.
foresee
Then-
it, then
then it
how would
ends
you
up
know
being-
that you need to even have an additional seed? Yeah.
Yeah, then we
Correct.
needed more. Then we needed more money for seeds and etc. More plowing. So yes, it's important that we for whoever said something about the land being very cheap. It is cheaper than anywhere else.
Anywhere else, right? That's amazing. And the fact that we can have it for 99 years, that's generations, right?
Right. So when Kiama goes to the
This is an all-around steal.
It
Yeah,
is.
when Kiama goes to the office in Kenya, in Nairobi, with the money for the actual land, the extra money can be taken off of that and put into the account. So it all goes to the account anyway.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so now, very quickly, if you're ready to believe this, and Eric, you can't believe it. Tapiwa in Zimbabwe just answered me as we have been on this call. Like I said, this has been something that's been ongoing. He comes in, he says, yeah, I'm going to give a full update. He comes back and he doesn't, I don't hear from him for weeks. Crickets, right? Okay. And he just answered me just now. And I'm going to actually read this aloud. I don't know if it's proven or not. I will. I did the tomato project, and it didn't produce the results we anticipated. In fact, it was a loss on my side, but nevertheless, I need to break down everything, and if not satisfied, I will pay back the costs, because Pedro, our other contact, and others must not be disadvantaged by this tomato project that did not produce the results we hoped for. I will make the breakdown first thing in the morning. 75 kilometers outside of the city of Harare. And he will do his projects for free. And, oh, so he just said he's going to sign over his land near the capital city of Harare to have work done, whatever work we want to have done on it, for the inconvenience is what I think he is saying. I'm not, I don't want his land. That's not, you know.
Sign over his land to whom?
To the ledge. I don't want his land. You know, that's not what this was about. So that's an update that I got just now. And I'll work through it and we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, what I'm looking for is recompense. That's it. We sent $4,300. That's what I want to see. So I see another question from Marcy. We've mentioned several current projects that are in need of financing and people at least. Which opportunities are available for Ledge members to invest in for a return of investments? Which opportunity is most established for Ledge members to invest the remaining needed funds and yield a profit? The closest opportunity to benefit from will help us move money. The most ready rolled project right now is onions. Onions in Uganda. Onions, soy, coffee are the projects that are vetted most completely and ready to go. The onions project, I think, was 5,000. And so that's ready. That can go. Okay. The next thing that
Is that on top of the 3,000 for the coffee?
Yes, that's a separate project. So the onions and the,
okay.
And I could be wrong. I can't see my actual screen. I could be wrong. I just can't see my PowerPoint relative to the onions. I think it was 5,000.
Okay.
But I will share that. If I'm mistaken, I'll share it. So your other question, can you break down the percentages for the fees and expenses to be withdrawn from the profit of each member's contribution in acreage in Kenya? So it was, and my wife, correct me if I speak wrong. It is 20% to the ledge and 80% to the lessee. So that land is yours, 20%, right, 20% to the ledge, which is ledge Kenya and ledge. So that's ledge entirely, right? That's Kiama, that's ledge. 20% to the ledge, 80% to you, as it relates to leased land farmed. Okay, there's that. There's that. I'm trying to get all the questions. My apologies. Okay, there's that. There's that. Okay. Do we use the same forms for lease renewal? Great question. Great. There is a renewal form. Lisa, did we put the renewal form in the, yeah, it's in the file section.
Yep.
So you want to use that, Paul, for the lease renewal. And important, I have input into the fee chain. Oh, Eric, were you waiting to speak, or did we get to that?
Actually, we didn't speak this. So I was going to input. You actually went over it, right? So if we could just make sure that we're looking at both of that, the fact that there's 20% coming off of the proceeds, and I understand we thought that we already be to that point already. If we're looking to increase the fee, if we can keep that 20% that's coming off the top in mind as well. just to make sure we're being fair in that regard. And before I jump back out, I didn't know because I walked away for a little bit during this call. Did we have an update on where everything is in Kenya, as far as the lands and what's already in the ground right now?
No, we didn't. So Kenya has had we had carrots. We had a number of crops in the ground. Okay. And I think I even shared with the group that Kiyama swore me to secrecy and not to tell anybody anything that we were doing, simply because there was an awful lot of disappointment last year when the drought killed the crops. And he felt it and he didn't want to feel it no more. So he was like, don't tell nobody nothing. Right. And so and that proved to actually be intelligent because the floods dramatically affected those crops. And so I saw sad pictures of carrots on the ground throughout Kenya. What is happening now is all of our fields are currently being plowed. In fact, that's why he's not on the call. He is on the farm as we speak. And so we're gearing up. The intent is, or the hope is, that the loan relative to the well comes through in time. I have a net 30 on the quote. So my hope is that comes through. If that happens and these things happen in time, we dig the well. Well digging should take probably about 3 weeks. After that, we're irrigating. We're irrigating. So at that point, what I'm doing is we're building the capacity to irrigate the land that we don't even have leased yet. We're just building it out with everything to be irrigated. Okay.
So when you said dramatically impacted, are we saying that we shouldn't expect anything as far as what was already planted?
I don't know the extent. And so I was hoping to have him come in and speak somewhat to it. So I don't know to the extent. I do know that there are some, that he does have some seeds that came out. And we're trying to see whether or not, how to work with those. Right.
Yeah, we do have flax.
Yeah.
Flax seeds, and I don't know how much of it, but it wasn't really effective, strangely.
It wasn't affected, which is odd. So maybe that's a really resistant and good crop that we need to consider. And if that's the case, that's kind of where my mind was. And I didn't want to speak to it without really having a firm idea. But maybe one of the things that we do, or one of the products that we have and get to our members, is flaxseed. It's expensive. I see it. I buy it pretty regularly. And so maybe that's what we do is in our online stores. I also was hoping to have our web service in today. In our online stores, I'd like to try to maybe have flaxseed. So I don't know fully.
Yama and I were also discussing drought resistant and even somewhat rain resistant or flood resistant plants. So we were talking about looking into getting those seeds after we did some research, because this weather pattern of drought and flood, well, the droughts happen, I guess they're quite regular. The flooding was a shock, but I mean, it does happen. It's just not as regular as drought. So we do have to talk about drought resistant produce.
Yeah. Well, and then furthermore is there has to be, and this is not, and I don't want to go too far into this, but this is not specific to just Kenya. But you'll remember last year the floods in Sierra Leone, and you've seen throughout the past year floods that have taken lots of lives. And so civil engineering has to happen. You have to do some planning where we're putting some, and so it's worse than that, because on the one hand, you have the flood, and the flood is so extreme that lives are lost. But at the other end of that flood, the lives are lost because of drought, right? So you have to develop a solution where we've got trenches Yes, trenches, concrete trenches, storage basins, filtration systems, and throughout these systems, throughout these cities where you have a network that's actually using it instead of suffering from it. You have to be able to start, predicting this and making. So specifically where we talk about our lands, you'll remember, Fonda, you went, and Phil, you remember, our land was kind of in a basin, right? It was like, it kind of sloped inward. And so what you'll see have happened is they've trenched it so that water isn't sitting in our land, and to try to mitigate that. It's going to have to be a little bit more elaborate as we go forward, and we will get to that place. Okay. So that was what are you showing us, Jose?
I'm playing videos of the Casamance. Of the region as you speak, so you have something to look at.
Okay. So that's Kenya. I got all of the questions that were on the call. That's Kenya. That is Zambia. I will share images. I know that Chalemi was trying to get images. He was having some phone trouble. Phone is going to be one thing that is always going to be an issue for you in Africa, whether it be service or whatever. It's going to be an issue. Can you say bundles, right? Okay. Well, so I was hoping to have him in, but I will, in fact, I can tell you, based on his enthusiasm, there's no way that I'll be able to stop from showing you the watermelons that are growing there, and kind of his methodology to growing them. So were there any questions? We've gone way over. This was supposed to be slated for 2 hours. And I think we've gone to 3.5. Yeah. Were there any additional questions to anything that I've shared? Who did that to my Not cool. Oh, that is gorgeous video, Jose, man. You know, that ain't right. That ain't right, man. Looking at that ain't right.
I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, man. I would like to be there, man, instead of here.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. Who's that?
Oh, yay. Sorry, that was me who did the glitch. I was trying to figure out I'm still learning how to use Zoom. Please forgive me. One quick question before you get off. Yep. I was curious to know, we were discussing the coffee endeavor regarding the work to do stateside. Is there an option for ledge members, if they do not want to actually distribute, to be able to invest in the manufacturing? And have you actually established, or considered establishing, I guess, shares?
Absolutely.
For people who do invest but don't necessarily want to work as a distributor. Because,
absolutely.
Everybody's got their strengths and gifts, and I'm not sure if coffee is mine necessarily, but I always want to be open to the options.
Hey, sis, I got to tell you, and Nkosi thinks it's funny when I say it, but the fact is that I ain't going to be out on the Ave hawking no coffee. It's just not in my blood. It's just not me.
Me neither.
But absolutely. And that's really, that's kind of where I see this falling. I see some people that are able to sit back in America and say, oh yeah, well, I'm regularly in contact with my farmer in Uganda who takes care of 10 acres of coffee for me, and our blends are found in whatever, but completely removed where it's just passive income, right? And at the end of the day, guess what? The fact is, there are plenty of farmers there that are so willing for that type of an opportunity. And so
that sounds perfect.
What this vehicle was was to build in the checks and balances to ensure that that kind of opportunity could happen safely, right? And so, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Peter?
Yes.
This is Philip. I'd like to speak on that, if I could.
Yes, sir.
As to what we're looking at now in terms of the coffee investment, if you could put it that way, is in order to build a wash station, we're going to need some investment, in order to have wash stations in Uganda or in Kenya for the benefit of the farmers. That's something that we would put in place that improves essentially the direct trade agreement between the ledge and the farmers that will, in the future, bring additional returns for farmers. On the domestic side, we would need to invest money into, say, roasting centers so that we can roast those green beans when they come in from Africa and distribute them to the retail outlets. And the idea in removing all of the, the costs by doing it all ourselves, essentially with our own supply chain, is once we invest, there's a significant amount of profit to be made in coffee. And like I said, we're in the process of budgeting that out now. But yeah, if you would prefer to be an investor as opposed to be a distributor, that works out also. Because what we're seeing, there's plenty of room for profit if we all work together for the benefit of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jose, you see, my wife thinks that was jackfruit that they was working with. I think it's mangoes, baby.
It's mangoes. It's a facility in Kataba, and for now it's they do mangoes. They dry mangoes and they export the regular mango. It's called the Kent mango, and you're looking at it. That's the mango that you buy globally at the mall. Mm-hmm. It's the Kent mango, and they dry it and they transport it over here to the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. Also the fresh mangoes. So that's why what you're looking at. The container is actually the drying machine.
Have you put this video on your page?
No, because of the quote unquote domestic complications. I actually pulled off all my material, even from my Facebook page. Even the old pictures, I hid them.
Wow. Okay.
That looks like that jackfruit though, didn't it? That's what that.
Not to me, it doesn't. It looks like banana peels. It doesn't look anything like jack.
Yeah, it does look like banana peels.
No, they cut slices and then they dry it in a machine. So that's what you're looking at, dry mango slices. The factory is under occupied. It's under occupied, and there are earlier on I showed a lot of trash back at the back side of the quote unquote factory, and that's actually the peels of the mango. And the manager of the facility told me there are numerous opportunities that they are not using because the peels, the things they throw away, you can make juice of it. Mango juice.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of loss actually because they don't have the capacity to
process it.
To process it. So if someone want to invest in mango juice, the material is there already.
Yes, that's nice.
And this facility also has two very large cooling cells. Mm-hmm. And it's under capacity. How do you call it?
Underutilized.
Yes, it's underutilized.
This is just an example of what the abundance is that exists in Africa.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's just amazing.
Well, and the other thing, and this is what strikes me, and probably everybody in the Ledge group and anybody that's anywhere in my earshot, can clearly hear in me is that when I see that, I think of how little it would take to expand their operations.
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing, how very little it would take to expand their operations to the point where not only are they living in abundance, but we're turning something that is helpful for us as well, so we can grow together. And that's the key. But to everything that we're doing, how do we simultaneously lift two groups? We put together what they have, very simply.
No, we're not connected. We have so much disconnection. Well, with us in the diaspora and people on the continent, that's one of the biggest problems. We have no connection.
Well, and it's also been very difficult, right? And I don't mind saying
very
difficult. There are people that when we began this journey said that what we were doing was impossible. They said what we were doing, what I was doing, and what we were planning to do was absolutely impossible. Anybody that followed behind it was a fool. That's what they said. Today,
they said a lot of things, and they can't wrap their mind around what needs to be done, but they can voice their opinion.
Today,
yes.
We're on the land in all of these places. We've got
our people are waiting in Africa.
Right, right, and we've got people that have good jobs today. They're working, they're eating, their families are being taken care of, and these things are happening. So now, again, we've dealt with the challenges, right? And now we're moving forward to the place where, again, we can start to recognize some of those revenues. And that's where I'm committed to. I'm further committed to linking with, as I said, every one of these movements that we see happening in the United States of America. It's time to stop operating in silos. It is time to port over and cross-utilize everything that's available to us, okay? So I'm going to jump off unless anyone has any additional questions. It has been my pleasure. It ain't even like work, you know, just kind of speaking and being with mine. So it's been my pleasure. Were there any additional questions? Who did that?
I said the pleasure was mine again to take part of the only this conversation already was my pleasure.
Yes, sir. Always my pleasure, brother. All right.
No, thank you so much for the updates and sharing. Looking forward to more and the progress that we have.
I think I'm going to try to get this done maybe at least once a month, right? So that again, you know, once a month, I think it's not too aggressive, and I can do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's too aggressive. We have several countries. We may be able to just do an update on one or two of them when they're further along.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So yeah, it's a good idea.
Once a month is not too bad. It's
not reasonable.
All right, my beloved. Thank you for joining, and I will share the recording into the room.
All righty. Everyone have a blessed day.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, legends.
Thank you.